Hello everybody, 2005 Kawasaki Nomad 1600, and I'm going to replace the clutch spring. Last week when riding the bike started slipping. Turns out it's a bad spring, so I'm going to replace the spring, show you how to do it. I'll be learning as well because that's the first time I'm going to do it. So hopefully this video will help you with your work. Enjoy.
Okay, so we are going to start by removing the clips. You have to remove the brake line. Here is another one. There are pretty much three that hold all the. The third one is right here. Kind of hard. See, all you have to do is just put a screwdriver pry on the clip, the zip tie, or the tie, however it's called, and it opens and releases the line. So once that's removed, you have to remove the brake, the rear brake assembly, the brake reservoir, and the floor. So that's 8mm screw for the reservoir. There are two bolts. First holds the cover. Okay, here it is. Now the reservoir, there's another 8mm. I already loosened it up a little bit before I took the camera, just to see what we have to do. So the reservoir is loose. Now the floorboard. There are two 14mm bolts. The first one attaches the engine crash bar, engine guard, however you want to name it, to the frame. That's the first bolt. This is another one. Like I said, I already loosened up the bolts a little bit. Now, as you are going to remove the assembly off, it's still, you have to watch for the brake line. You don't want to stretch, especially the switch, brake switch line. You don't want to break that wire. So, okay. Yep. It's coming down. And okay, I had to turn off the camera for a moment because I had no idea how to really attach it. So here's the wire that holds the floorboard to the crash bar. The switch wire is loose. Here's the brake line. It's not affected. We are removing it because we have removed the part of the frame and exhaust. So what's next? Okay, so the exhaust. Two 13mm engine mounts.
Okay, so turns out I have to remove my right saddlebag to undo the exhaust.
Bag is removed. I remove these two bolts. Okay, now I want to hold it. That bolt right now holds the entire exhaust. I definitely don't want to damage it. So be careful. There are two washers, don't lose them. I'll just put it back on the frame. Exhaust removed. Before we remove the frame, there's one more thing attached to the frame. Let me lower the camera. Yeah, that's the power regulator. I believe the bracket is attached with two 10mm bolts. Okay, so that's removed. Next thing, so we have undo these two bolts. It seems, yes, 13 millimeters. No, it's gonna be 12. Okay, let me get the right socket. Probably before I remove this last bolt, it would be a good idea to support the engine. Okay, now it's just an overkill. The last part in this assembly is the frame. On the frame we have two bolts right here underneath the transmission, and these two. The first two, actually they go straight into the frame. Yep. So there's no nuts. You can simply undo them. These two, however, there are nuts behind them. So you don't want to grab them. It is the same bolt, just nice plastic covers, so the bike looks beautiful. 8mm Allen. Okay, a little bit of extension. Not sure. Okay. This one's loose. This one's loose. Okay, extension. And you can just hold the nut with your fingers. Let's put it back so we know that these are the front bolts. Let me see, you know what? I'm actually going to put back in, I think that was this, not here, this bolt. Just for a moment. So the frame won't collapse down. Yeah, I like it without scratches. And I don't know how. Yeah, it's dropping. Holding the frame, then that came down on the other side. Okay, now remove this one. And let's see. Comes down off the. Here are some additional ties. No, you can just, I'm not sure if you can see what I'm doing. I grab the frame. Here's the brake line. It's actually held by two clamps. The front you have to push the line down. The rear, pull it up. Just here it is. The frame is out. Okay, so I received my parts today, so hopefully we can finish the project. So here it is. Here is my Barnett spring, gaskets for the exhaust, and gasket for the clutch cover. What you want to do is to use the cardboard that comes with the clutch cover, trace over all the holes for bolts. I also trace the outline of the gasket and numbered all the holes, and as you can see I did some cuts. So basically what I'll be doing, because all the bolts are different sizes, every bolt I'm going to remove from the cover I'm going to insert into those cuts, so this way I won't mix it up. Okay, so I have my tools here and we can start. And the last bolt. Okay, so here's my cardboard with all the bolts. Goes to the side. Now let's see how hard is it going to. Oh, here it is. There's a washer on the starter, just fell out. That's the washer. Put it back on. Okay. My screwdriver. what I did, I rotated the spring, so the beginning of it, there's a cut. With this cut I can easily insert the screwdriver in. Oh, that's the fire. And have it removed. Okay. So here's the spring, put it on side. Out the cover. Okay. Pin. Here's our 27mm bolt. Okay, so here's our 27mm nut. So here's the old, this is the old clutch spring. Let's compare it with the new to see. I don't know if you can tell, but the Barnett is, you can tell it's thicker. So the first washer points outward, inward, outward. So we can see it right here, how it's positioned. What I'm going to do is basically use some grease as a glue. Okay, one. Two. Seems it needs a little bit more grease. Okay, now it seems right. The grease will melt once the oil gets hot. Okay, and the last washer. Okay.
can start reassembling now. I'll take the dirty gloves off. Okay, let's move the penny up. I want to check the torque, and yeah, it's 100 at least, because my scale ends at 100 foot-pounds and it gets to 100. And the spec is 108, so I think I'm at 108. Can remove the penny. Yeah, it's bent, but it's gentle enough not to damage the gears. Okay, so continue reassembling. Pin goes in next. Then there's the bearing. It stuck to the cover when I was disassembling it, so you didn't see it the first time around. There's a tiny bearing, so you don't want to. That's it. Like that, the pin already came out. It's easier to assemble it then. Okay. Now we can remove the old seal. You can see a whole bunch of dirt. I will use a razor to clean it up. Make sure this washer is on. That's the one we are looking after at the beginning. Use a little bit of grease, just a few spots. Just a little bit. We need the grease to keep the gasket, the seal, in
place so we can easily put back on the cover. Okay. There it is. Okay. Now we assemble the frame, exhaust, brake, good to go. And don't forget to replace the gasket here.